Drill Sergeant Cracks glared at the new batch of cadets with all six of his eyes. 22 species from across the Galactic Union stood in formation, their postures varying from the rigid perfection of the Trill to the amorphous attention of the Gelids. And then there was the human. Today's exercise will test your limits, Prax announced, his translator crackling with deliberate menace. Team Epsilon will transport their assigned Hoveric battle tank to the northern ridge. 4 kilometers. Uphill, through the marsh. He pointed a clawed appendage at the massive war machine squatting on its gravity pads. At 15 tons, the tank represented the pinnacle of Union battlefield technology and an impossible challenge for the 6 unfortunate cadets of Team Epsilon. You have 12 hours, Cracks added with a cruel chittering sound that passed for laughter among his kind. Failure means expulsion. The human Private Miller stood at the end of Team Epsilon's line. Unlike his alien comrades, he displayed no obvious distress. The other instructors had warned Cracks about the humans, Deathworlders from a savage gravity well of a planet, somehow accepted into the Galactic Union, despite their barbaric tendencies. This was Crax's first encounter with one, and he was determined to break the creature's spirit. Begin, Crax shouted, and retreated to the hovering observation platform, where his fellow drill sergeants watched with anticipation. Team Epsilon gathered around their tank, arguing over strategy. The Spangly Vorex twins, with their superior mathematical minds, calculated leverage points. The Deathworlder Cadet, with her 4 powerful arms, positioned herself at the rear. The Phosian and the Glexian, both from low-gravity worlds, could offer little but moral support. And then there was Miller. "I'll take point," the human said simply. The other cadets stared at him in disbelief. "Impossible," the Phosian replied, its bioluminescent skin flashing with doubt. "Even with optimal distribution, we'll need at least 10 hours to reach the ridge." Miller shrugged. "Let me try something." Drill Sergeant Cracks zoomed the observation platform's cameras on the human with interest. What foolishness was this Deathworlder planning? To everyone's astonishment, Miller positioned himself at the front of the tank, bent his knees, and slid his shoulders under the forward gun barrel. With a grunt that was picked up by the platform's sensitive microphones, the human straightened his legs and lifted. The tank's front end rose from the ground. "Impossible," whispered Drill Sergeant Wolf beside Cracks. "Their planet's gravity is 1.8 times galactic standard," finished Drill Sergeant Zinn. "But this shouldn't be possible." Miller began to walk forward, dragging the tank behind him. His gravity pads scraped along the ground, leaving deep furrows in the soil. The human's face reddened, veins bulging along his neck and forearms, but he continued forward with steady progress. The other cadets of Team Epsilon stood frozen in shock before the Deathworlder snapped out of her trance and rushed to help stabilize the sides of the tank. The Vorex twins scrambled to the rear, using their combined strength to lift the back end, slightly reducing drag. "They're actually moving it," Cracks said in disbelief. "That's not possible," Wolf insisted, mandibles clicking rapidly. The human's skeletal structure should be fracturing under that load. "And yet, it's not," Zinn murmured, already tapping into the Academy's database. "I'm checking their files. It says humans evolve in a high-gravity, high-predator environment with extreme temperature variations." "We know that," snapped Cracks. "That's why they're classified as Deathworlders." "Yes, but there's a note here I hadn't seen before. During recruitment, this Miller displayed unusual physical capabilities. The medical examiner noted unprecedented musculoskeletal density and enhanced adrenaline response." The 3 drill sergeants watched in growing alarm as Team Epsilon reached the edge of the marsh. Normal protocol dictated that cadets would need to disassemble tanks before crossing such terrain. Instead, Miller simply leaned forward, driving his boots deeper into the mud, and continued pulling. "The tank is sinking," both observed. "The human isn't," Zinn replied. By the 2-hour mark, Team Epsilon had covered more than half the distance. The other teams, scattered across the training grounds with similar tasks, but lighter vehicles, had made significantly less progress. Word had spread among the instructors, and now nearly all of them hovered near Crax's platform, watching the impossible feat unfolding below. Miller hadn't stopped once. His uniform was soaked with sweat, mud caked his boots up to the knees, but his pace remained steady. The other cadets rotated positions, resting when needed, but the human continued bearing the brunt of the load. "We need to review the integration protocols for Deathworlders," Wolf said quietly. "If one human can do this, what could a squad of them accomplish?" Zinn finished. Krax felt a chill travel down his exoskeleton. The Galactic Union had welcomed humans, believing them to be a curiosity, primitives from an inhospitable world who had somehow achieved spaceflight. Now he understood the error in that assumption. They weren't primitives who survived despite their planet. They were apex predators forged by it. Team Epsilon reached the northern ridge in 4 hours and 17 minutes, shattering the previous record by more than 6 hours. As Miller finally lowered the tank's front end to the ground, a cheer erupted from his teammates. The human straightened, rolled his shoulders, and grinned up at the observation platform. He gave a small, casual salute that struck Krax as oddly threatening. That evening, the drill surgeons met in emergency session. Krax submitted his report with a new classification recommendation for humans, not merely Deathworlders, but potential military assets of unprecedented capability, and, though he didn't write it in the official documentation, potential threats. Because what terrified Krax most wasn't that Private Miller had carried a tank. It was that he made it look easy.